What's up guys, Luis here from Yugatech. When I got a hold of the Galaxy A34 5G for testing, I struggled a bit to find out what makes this phone stand out from the pack. Not to spoil anything, but the A34 5G can pretty much handle most things an average user needs out of a phone. But then I realized that the A34's best feature was right in front of me after all. And that, my friends, is One UI. After a good week or so of use, I can confidently say that the A34 5G is the perfect One UI device. Why? Let's find out in our video review of the Samsung Galaxy A34 5G. For its display, the A34 5G has a 6.6-inch Full HD Plus Super AMOLED screen, which is 0.1 larger than last year's A33, and it has a 120Hz refresh rate, up from 90Hz from last year. In our testing, the display was really impressive as it was clear and visible even under direct sunlight. It carries Samsung's signature display characteristics, aka it's bright, vibrant, and offers really punchy colors. The 120Hz refresh rate also makes the navigation experience fast and snappy. You can see on the front that the A34 5G adopts a teardrop notch and unfortunately has some pretty sizable bezels around the screen. At first, I thought I would be bothered by the larger than usual bezels, but after extended use, I quickly forgot that they were actually there. So, not a deal breaker. It also features an under-display fingerprint sensor at the bottom half of the screen, which is fast and reliable. We just wished it was a tad bit higher in terms of placement because it was a little bit too low for comfort. The A34 also adopts the boxier look that we see in the newly released Galaxy S23 flagship series. It has a plastic back with what Samsung calls a prism pattern panel, which honestly just looks like a plain, solid color if you ask me. The boxier design makes the A34 5G feel like you're holding a lighter and cheaper iPhone Pro Max phone. And you know what? That's not a bad thing, especially since those phones are tens of thousands of pesos more expensive. On the back, we can find the A34's rear camera system, which also removes the camera bump just like the new S23s. The power button and the volume rocker are on the right, the SIM card and microSD slot are on top, and the USB-C port and speaker grill are on the bottom. And the A34 5G as a whole has an IP67 rating for water and dust resistance. Samsung says that the phone is made with eco-friendly and recycled material. We don't know the exact specifics of Samsung's recycling process, but what we do know is that the A34's lightweight, despite its size, as well as its simple and minimal design, makes it an incredibly comfortable phone to use, even with its 6.6-inch massive display. For performance and software, let's get the specs out of the way first. The A34 5G has a MediaTek Dimensity 1080 with 8GB of RAM and either 128 or 256GB of internal storage. We got the 128GB of storage here, and it runs the latest Android 13 on Samsung's One UI 5.1. Right now, I currently run a Google Pixel 6, but before that, I was a long-time Samsung user. I had the Galaxy S20 FE for a good while, and the original Galaxy A50 for 2 years. My Galaxy A50 was pretty good, but the biggest weakness of that phone was its less than desirable performance, which is why I switched to the S20 FE with the faster chip. So when I started to use the A34 5G, I gotta admit that performance-wise, my expectations were pretty low. And that's because the A34 is the lower end of Samsung's mid-range offerings. But man, the A34 5G with One UI on top exceeded my expectations. Aside from the below average haptics, I really couldn't tell that this was Samsung's lower end mid-ranger. Going through One UI with the A34 is really smooth, and you could tell that Samsung has spent a lot of time refining its mobile software experience. Browsing social media like Instagram, Facebook, using the phone for work and messaging, and watching content like movies and YouTube videos was nothing but a pleasurable experience with the A34 5G. Honestly, One UI 5.1 on the A34 felt just as smooth as my S20 FE from a year ago. which is crazy given that the FE is basically a flagship phone. Yes, it won't have the same speed or power in terms of stuff like video editing, benchmarks, or graphically intensive games. But in daily use, I couldn't for the life of me tell the difference. No complaints at all. It even has surprisingly good stereo speakers that don't distort at high volumes, making my daily usage with the A34 5G even more positive. For gaming, the A34 5G isn't going to beat any gaming phone out there, but games like Mobile Legends and Call of Duty Mobile run just fine on the A34 without any perceivable hiccups, lag, or overheating. And for those interested in benchmarks, here are a few. For its battery, the A34 5G carries a 5000 mAh capacity with 25 watts of fast charging, with the Dimensity 1080 chip having a focus on maximizing power savings and battery efficiency. We expected the A34 to perform well in terms of battery life. On average, I was easily able to get 6 to 8 hours of screen on time. That's with light mode on, using TikTok for an hour or two, Facebook, Instagram, maybe 1 or 2 games of Mobile Legends and Call of Duty Mobile, and a few minutes of using the camera as well. On PCMark's Work 3.0 battery life test, it got a score of 15 hours and 17 minutes. So that's a pretty good battery coming out of the A34. For cameras, the A34 5G has a triple camera setup led by a 48 megapixel OIS main sensor with an f1.8 aperture and an 8 megapixel ultra-wide at f2.2 and a 5 megapixel macro at f2.4. It also has a 13 megapixel f2.2 selfie camera on the front. The A34 5G's main sensor produces good photos provided you give it ample lighting. It's got that punchy and saturated Samsung color profile that's great for social media, but may not be everyone's cup of tea. Meanwhile, the ultra-wide sensor on the A34 is just okay. Photos from the ultra-wide aren't grainy or too distorted, but they do have more muted colors compared to the A34's main camera. So honestly, just stick to the main camera on the A34. The night shots are a bit on the grainier side, but we like how the A34 was able to accurately depict both warm and cool tones at night, which is something that most cameras in the mid-range segment aren't able to do well. The selfie camera, on the other hand, was surprisingly good too, with the front camera able to reproduce skin tones pretty accurately and also being able to properly expose the subject without much trouble. Video on the A34 is decent but not mind-blowing. Footage is crisp and clear with colors being a bit too oversaturated, which isn't surprising since, as we mentioned earlier, this is Samsung's signature color profile. It's gonna be perfectly fine for those who take videos to capture memories and for the occasional social media post. To conclude, I call the A34 5G the perfect One UI device because this phone highlights just how far Samsung has come in terms of offering an optimized software experience, which basically shows just how good One UI actually is as an Android skin. Not to mention the fact that you're getting 4 major OS updates and 5 years of security updates for the A34 5G. While you can get another phone with maybe a faster chipset, or a bigger battery, or a better set of cameras, none of them will have the One UI software experience that the A34 5G will provide. And for a price of $19,990 for the 128GB version and $21,990 for the 256GB version, the A34 5G is a good mid-range phone with an even better software experience. So what do you think of the A34 5G? Let us know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, be sure to smack that like button and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss out any of our latest videos. And like always, for the latest tech news and reviews, be sure to visit yugatech.com. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok too. Once again, this has been Luis of Yugatech. Thanks for watching.